Friends, today's reflection for Monday of Holy Week comes from this book, Show Me the Way by Henri Nouwen, who was a really profound spiritual writer and a very humble Catholic priest that lived in the latter part of the last century. He writes like this, John 12 verse 8, "You have the poor with you always, you will not always have me." And his reflection goes, to choose the little people, the little joys, the little sorrows, and to trust that it is there that God will come close. That's the hard way of Jesus. Something in me always wants to turn the way of Jesus into a way that is honourable in the eyes of the world. I always want the little way to become the big way. But Jesus' movement towards the places the world wants to move away from cannot be made into a success story. Every time we think we've touched a place of poverty, we'll discover greater poverty beyond that place. There really is no way back to riches, to wealth, to success, to acclamation and to prizes. Beyond physical poverty, there is mental poverty, there's spiritual poverty, and beyond that there is nothing but the naked trust that God is mercy. It's not a way we can walk alone. Only with Jesus can we go to the place where there is nothing but mercy. It's the place from which Jesus cried, my God, why have you forsaken me?" It's also the place from which Jesus was raised up to new life. The way of Jesus can be walked only with Jesus. If I want to do it alone, it becomes a form of inverse heroism, as fickle as heroism itself. Only Jesus, the Son of God, can walk to that place of total surrender and mercy. He warns us about striking off on our own by saying, "Cut off from me, you can do nothing." But he also promises, "Whoever remains in me, with me in him, bears fruit in plenty." Now I see clearly why action without prayer is so fruitless. It's only in and through prayer that we can become intimately connected with Jesus and find the strength to join him on his way. For prayer and action, therefore, can never be seen as contradictory or mutually exclusive. Prayer without action grows into powerless piety, and action without prayer degenerates into questionable manipulation. If prayer leads us into a deeper unity with the compassionate Christ, it will always give rise to concrete acts of service. And if concrete acts of service do indeed lead us to a deeper solidarity with the poor, the hungry, the sick, the dying and the oppressed, they will always give rise to prayer. In prayer we meet Christ, and in him all human suffering. In service we meet people, and in them the suffering Christ. For action with and for those who suffer is the concrete expression of the compassionate life, the final criteria for being a Christian. Such acts do not stand beside the moments of prayer and worship, but are themselves such moments. Why? Because Christ Jesus, who did not cling to his divinity, but became as we are, can be found where the hungry, the poor, the oppressed, the thirsty, the alienated, the naked, the sick, and the imprisoned people are. Precisely when we live in an ongoing conversation with Christ and allow his Spirit to guide our lives, we'll recognize him in the poor, the oppressed, and the downtrodden, and will hear the cry and respond to it wherever it reveals himself. So worship becomes ministry, and ministry becomes worship. And all we say or do, ask for or give, becomes a way to the life in which God's compassion can manifest itself. God bless you, everyone.